Coming up on today's episode,
3000 BC?
that is correct. Did Kara give you the outline?
No.
All right, this is going to be no fun if you continue to look at the outline.
All right, I won't look.
This is the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Hey, welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust. My name is Cole. I am part of the marketing team at Pro Exteriors, and joined as always today, I have with me Aaron Rogers. Aaron, how's it going?
It's going wonderful, Cole. How about you?
Pretty good. My dog is barking, and I'm not talking about my feet. My actual dog is barking. So if you hear that, I don't know if you can hear that coming through or not, but
barely.
He is going nuts. All right. If you are joining us for the very first time today, this is a special day. This is episode 10. I was telling Aaron off air that many podcasts don't make it to 10 episodes. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. Before we jump in, though, to the fun, I want to tell you that each week we try to tackle a question that we have been asked by one of our customers. And they are all surrounding the exterior home remodeling space, that topic. And so today is no different, but I'm not going to tell you the topic or the question just yet. First, we are going to play a little bit of game. Oh, wait, what? We're going to play a little bit of game.
Just a little bit of game.
We're going to play a short game. Here's how it's going to work. It's very complex. I'm going to ask Aaron a series of questions. He's going to answer them. And we're going to see how well he does. There's no prizes. There's no winners or losers. So this is a terrible game. And it is called Knock Knock. Aaron says, who's there? I'm going to stump the pro. That's who. That's what this game is called. We're still workshopping the name. All right. The topic is momentous events in door history.
Okay.
So, Aaron, for 1,000 points, when was the first door invented? When did doors begin? What year did doors begin?
3000 BC?
That is correct. Did Kara give you the outline?
No.
All right, this is going to be no fun if you continue to look at the outline.
All right, I won't look.
All right, hopefully you haven't memorized it yet.
Oh, that's great.
All right, the first automatic door was invented in either A, the 1st century, B, the 9th century, or C, 1946.
The first automatic door.
First automatic door, was it A, the 1st century? So that's like triple digit years, okay? B, the 9th century, so the 1800s.
I'm going with B, the 9th century.
Did I say those? All right, I'm going to give you the answer first, okay? So you have 1,000 points so far. This is for another 1,000 points.
Okay.
A Greek scholar invented the first automatic door in the 1st century AD. So that was a long time ago. So you're sticking or hanging right at 1,000 points. Question number 3. In what decade, now this is in the 1900s, so I'll narrow it down for you. In what decade did polymer production surpass the production of steel worldwide? In what decade did polymer surpass the production of steel worldwide?
1980s?
Very close. 1970s.
Mm.
All right. Let's see. This is kind of a fun one. We'll do 2 more questions. You're still at 1,000 points for this is a 3,000 point question.
Ooh,
I just
okay.
decided it's going to be worth 3,000 points. The first foot sensor activated automatic door was made in China in what century? So to recap, the first automatic door was invented by a Greek scholar in the 1st century.
Okay.
How long did it take then for the first foot sensor activated automatic door? So, viewer, listener, we take this for granted. We walk into a Target, we walk into a Home Depot, we step up, that door opens. I'm sure you're like me, you've almost walked too quickly and like walked smack dab into it. When were people first starting to make that mistake of walking in too quickly? What century was that?
No idea.
Was it the okay? I'll give you 3
Let's do multiple
options.
choice. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Was it the 2nd century, the 12th century, or the 5th century?
5th century. Final answer.
Yep. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's people out there are going to think that I'm a complete moron. The 5th century does mean like 400s, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Why? Okay. Man. Sorry, I'm looking at a list of dates over here and it's anyhow. All right, the last question. You have to guess the specific year. So not decade, not 100 years. In what year? Have you heard of the company Special Light Doors?
I
I
think
found
so.
them online. I don't even know where they're based, okay?
Sure.
Special Light introduces the world's first FRP door, fiber reinforced polymer door. What year? Fiber reinforced polymer. So you have 4,000 points now because I believe you got, yes, you have 4,000 points.
4,000 points.
This
Okay.
last question is worth 10,000 points.
1992.
Not even close. My wife, I'll give you one more out. See, my wife was born the same year that fiber reinforced polymer doors were invented.
Oh gosh, I don't want to say the year because I don't want to give up your wife's age, and at the same time, your wife doesn't look her
She
age.
doesn't listen to this podcast.
Okay, 1978. No, 79.
I was born in 85. This is riveting for our audience, but it's exciting for me. 10,000 points. 10,000 points. Last guess.
1980.
Sorry. 1981, Special Light introduced the world's first fiber reinforced polymer door. Are FRP doors still used? Is that common? Or have you not even heard of that?
I know what FRP panel is. It's typically used in like bathrooms and showers and commercial kitchens and yeah.
All right. Well,
At offices.
if you played at home, would you let us know how you scored? Aaron scored 4,000 points.
It's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be hard to beat.
It is going to be hard to beat. Yeah. All right. If you haven't already guessed by now, today's topic is doors. Yep, it's doors. The only question I could come up with is what's the deal with doors? I highly doubt we've ever had a customer come in and ask someone at our front desk, what's the deal with doors? In their best Seinfeld impersonation. But it was a question that's basically going to allow us to jump into a conversation about doors. We started off this podcast talking about roofs. We've talked about siding. We've talked about windows. We've talked about all sorts of things. Doors, the literal doorway into your home is the door. So, Aaron, I'm going to walk you through just a few topics. We'll have some conversation. And then at the end, we'll get to celebrate the fact that we completed 10 episodes of this podcast. We're not celebrating yet. Okay. Things could go wrong between now and
I'll
then.
walk that backwards.
All right. Let's talk about the types of exterior doors. We realized we could talk about cabinet doors. We could talk about interior doors. We could talk about the doors, but we're going to focus on exterior only. I want to walk you through some of the different materials that are commonly used, and I want to hear just a little bit of your hot takes on what the materials are. So, wood, pros, cons, like, dislike. What are your thoughts?
I like a good wood door. Not quite as efficient as some of the other options. Definitely comes with way more maintenance. So I like a good wood door. The nice thing about wood doors is they can be, they can last an extremely long time. They can be repaired, they can be rebuilt, they can be sanded, they can be shaved down, they can be, reused in another opening if you choose to do it that way. They can be cut in half and added, new hinges to make Dutch doors. And so a lot more flexibility with a wood door, but just a lot more maintenance.
On the cost spectrum, based on some of the other materials we're going to talk about, where do they
they'll
fall?
definitely be higher cost point. As far as availability now and kind of where the market is, wood doors are definitely going to be more expensive than say like your standard steel or fiberglass. So,
okay.
But again, lasts a lot longer.
All right, great segue. Let's talk steel doors. Okay. Pros, cons.
So pro is they are inexpensive. Con is they rust. So again, we live on the East Coast. That's where we're based out of here in southern Delaware. We live right here on the ocean. Unfortunately, the ocean has salt water. So most of the steel doors in our area tend to rust or corrode. They don't last quite as long. They also get really hot. If you ever burned your hand in a steel door, most people probably haven't, but I have. They're just not quite as efficient. You can get foam-filled steel doors that are good as far as like energy efficiency goes, but again, they rust. But again, typically going to be cheaper, but also less options as far as styles and all that kind of stuff. So
okay. Fiberglass.
Fiberglass, I think, is probably going to be your market leader. Again, you can make fiberglass or vinyl doors in just about every shape, size, and color. They don't rot. They can be kind of the same foam-filled doors that you have with steel. But yeah, I mean, if you can dream it, they can build it with fiberglass. So,
what about glass doors?
So
glass or sliding?
Yeah, I mean, you can do a glass door. It's still gonna, have a frame of some sorts. It's going to be wood, fiberglass, or aluminum, and but yeah, you can have really, really, really high end glass doors that are terribly expensive and have nice little rubber seals and high end architectural decorative hardware and whatnot. But we don't see that quite as much here.
Are there any other materials that are commonly used for doors, or is it really just wood, steel, fiberglass?
Yeah, I mean, you're still you're gonna have some aluminum doors, just like you do with windows. Again, when aluminum doors are going to be a little bit more common than aluminum windows, larger extrusions, and don't really have the issues here with aluminum like we do with steel. Aluminum's not going to rust. You can put it right in the ocean. So we do a decent amount of aluminum doors. Almost all of our storm doors that we install are going to be aluminum. But yeah.
If we want to, let's talk a little bit about specifically entryway doors. So obviously sliders are going to be typically used back porch, that kind of thing. But
Right.
talk through some of the options that customers have, with regards to side lights or transoms or,
Yeah.
yeah, what are some of those options?
So you can have a single entry door, you can have a double entry door, you can have side lights, you can have transoms, you can have both. You can have stationary panels, you can have, operable panels. I mean, again, depending on time and money, you can pretty much have anything you want. And there's, sky's the limit as far as like designing and building it. I've seen doors that look like kind of pirate doors or castle doors that literally have a little hole that you opened up with a cage on it. I've seen half-light doors where you pretty much, or Dutch doors, whatever you want to call them, where half the door opens, which is kind of fun if you have kids. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I guess we should just say side lights it's a fancy term for windows that are on the side, either side of your door, right?
Yep.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's essentially adding glass. When we say lights, when it comes to doors, when we say lights, it refers to glass. So, because you can have a side light that doesn't have glass, but it's not the same, I don't think.
And then a transom is a window or some piece of glass above the door, right?
Correct.
Why do they have to be so tricky? I don't know. Just call them side windows, or I don't know. What do I know? That's why I'm asking the questions and not answering the questions. All right. What would you say is the bread and butter entryway door?
I would say fiberglass doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that what you see most builders using?
That's what I see most builders using. That's what we typically try to steer people towards, simply because the maintenance of a fiberglass door is way better. The overall options you have with a fiberglass door are going to be better. The way that it takes paint, it lasts a lot longer. Factory prime, factory painted. It's great. And then same thing with the jams. So you can have a door that lasts, 100 years, but the jam itself is typically what fails prematurely. We don't ever really recommend wood jams. I'm sure everybody here at some point has had a door that's 20 years old and you look down in the bottom and it's rotten out because it's an old wood jam. So we have a whole bunch of options as far as the jams go nowadays, where we can have fiberglass jams, we can have steel jams, aluminum jams. But they don't rust. You don't have any issues with having to replace the door prematurely because of that. It's one of those areas where you don't really look at it. You don't really look down at your door until it's kind of too late, especially if you paint it every few years. Like, it gets several coats of paint on it. It rots from the backside in. And then as soon as it rots all the way through, you're like, how'd that happen? So,
you want to know my favorite jam?
Strawberry?
Grape.
Yeah.
Grape jam.
Concord
Wood
grape
jam
jelly, Welch's.
Wood jam sounds gross. Okay, so we've been talking primarily about the actual door itself. I don't know why I said itself like that. And you brought up a good point. The jam, typically when you're having a door replaced, you're not just popping the door off the hinges, right?
Correct.
So could you talk to me a little bit about what that installation process is? So on a previous episode, when we talked about windows, we kind of talked about what goes on inside and outside the house. What does it look like when a door is being replaced?
So it's kind of a similar process. So we're going to take off the interior trim, we're going to take off the exterior trim, and most of the time the siding that's around it. We're going to prep the sill. The sill is what the door actually sits on. Kind of the rough framing. So we'll put in like some sill flashing. We usually have a little lip on the backside for any moisture that does happen to get underneath of the door. It can't go, past that. Your door is going to kind of set into that opening. This is where we talk about square and plumb. Some people don't understand the difference between square and plumb. So if your sill is nice and level and your door sits nice and level on that sill, when you rack it back and forth in the opening, that's your square. You want that frame to be as square as it can possibly be. And then plumb is going to be, if this is the face of your wall, plumb is whether or not the door sits level, in and out, kind of that
Mm-hmm.
way. So you want your door to be not only square but also plumb. And then we're going to secure it into the framing on each side. We're going to shim it all out. We're going to put nice long screws so that it's nice and secure into the opening. We're going to spray foam it so it's air sealed, and then we're going to cover it all up and put nice decorative trim around it. Most doors nowadays, it's more common to have a lock and a deadbolt. So one of the things we always like to do is kind of reinforce the jamb where the deadbolt goes. People don't realize how easy it is to kick a door open, especially with a wood jamb. Normally your deadbolt only goes into the 3/4 inches of wood on the side, and most people would have almost no issue whatsoever kicking down a door. So we usually have little steel brackets that come with the lock set, or some come with the actual door. And we like to secure them to the side of the jamb and then actually into the framing on the side to make that a lot stronger. So,
are there any other steps that people could take to make the door more secure?
Yeah, you can do multi-locks. You can set up more than just a deadbolt. You can have a top lock on there. You can have a bottom lock on. You can have the little kind of bars that prop underneath the door. Ultimately, what it comes down to, if somebody wants to get in, they're going to get in one way or another. You're just trying to make it as inconvenient as you possibly can. So,
yeah. So I've talked ad nauseum about this on this show. That my family recently moved into a new house, and so a lot of these topics are fresh in my mind because we're experiencing some of the house settling, some of the things that the builder didn't do totally right, some of the things that the subs just, you could tell they didn't care. So as you're talking through the door, I'm thinking, yeah, how easy would it be for somebody to just kick our front door open?
I think most people would be scared to realize how easy it is to kick a door. It's not hard.
So,
not that I know.
That's another episode. I think that's another podcast entirely.
It might be another podcast. Yeah.
Yep. We're in the home and garden genre. We're not in the true crime.
True crimes is next. Yeah.
Yep. So we often kind of do some role playing where I'm the customer walking into the showroom, or I meet with one of our exterior specialists. Is door hardware, is that something that's discussed in those meetings, or is the homeowner typically the one that's supplying that? How does that work?
So we do offer them a few styles that kind of come directly from our manufacturer. Slage and Kwikset are kind of like your top two main brands. So we do gently discuss like kind of what you're looking for. The one big thing we're always trying to get out of it is like, what type of lock set are you ultimately going to go with? We want to know if you want, both holes drilled out. Do you want a handle and a deadbolt? Some people only want a deadbolt. Some people only want a handle. We normally go into everything with an allowance number. So we always tell people, like, if you can find it, this is the allowance we're going to go with. So if it's within that budget, either you can order it and we'll take it off the bill, or we can order it if you can give us the or the serial number and whatnot. But yeah, you can go crazy with lock set cost. You can have one that literally you put them side by side. The security rating, the style, the finish, the warranty, and everything could be the exact same. This one costs $150 and this one costs $600. So you can go as crazy with that as you possibly want to, honestly. So.
All right, it was a few episodes back, you talked about how, you've got a house full of boys and your back door takes a beating. Yeah, it's used way more often than the windows.
Yep.
I've noticed even our front door, sometimes the catch doesn't, like if you slam it too hard, it doesn't catch. You've got to kind of pull it tightly. What are some of the things, maybe some of the maintenance tips that you have on how to keep a door lasting as long as it possibly can? Not just the door, but the whole system, the whole frame and everything.
So there's a lot of adjustment in the lock set itself. So when you talk about the keeper, that's the little metal piece that actually goes on the jamb.
Okay.
That's the piece that kind of like the catch on the door itself kind of scrapes against. So that's adjustable, usually in and out, up and down. Same way with your door itself. You want to keep your door handle nice and tight because every time you let it get loose and you slam it, that can kind of cause issues to the internals. You want to make sure if you start to see your door sagging, like if you close your door and you look at the reveal around your door and you notice that it's not quite convenient or consistent.
Yeah.
Normally you can go over and you can, add a screw into the actual hinge and kind of suck the door over if you need to do that. Wood doors, sometimes you actually have to shave them down because they do tend to swell over the years. But yeah, and then the other stuff's like just paying attention to your weather stripping. If your weather stripping seems to be kind of not laying properly, or if you close your door and you can kind of see daylight or feel hot and cold coming through the door, then you add some weather stripping. Or a lot of times, if again, when we're talking about square and plumb, if your weather stripping's not doing its job properly, a lot of times it's because the door's not plumb or square in the opening, and you need to adjust it from there. That might actually take a professional to do. Some of this other stuff you can pretty much do on your own.
All right. Yeah, I've even noticed door handles, screws start to back themselves out because, like you said, you're using it all the time and you're physically torquing all of the internals, and so just taking a screwdriver and tightening those things up can be helpful. It seems like.
Yes.
When it seems to me that people are more apt to replace their roof or their siding or even their windows, but when would you suggest that somebody really give some thought to, hey, it's time to replace my door? Like beyond just the I want a different style, what are some of the other factors that you see customers figuring in?
I mean, honestly, with doors, like most people don't replace their doors that often. It's not quite as common as windows. I would say if you're doing like a whole home exterior remodel and your door is 25 plus years old, replace the door. And like now's the time. It's when everything else is it's the most convenient time to do it. It does allow you to kind of keep up with the current styles and keep everything nice and tight. But it honestly comes down to most of the time your door fails because of you just haven't done the maintenance to it over the years. Steel doors, like I said, they rust out. Wood jams rot out, and that's the perfect time. Like when your jam rots out, we do get asked all the time, like, well, do you have to replace the whole door? Or can you just replace the jam? You can replace just the jam. We don't do that. We're going to get a door that has the jam and everything. It's set in the factory. It's perfect. It's meant for the opening. The amount of time and effort that it takes to swap a sill out or a jam out, put the new old door in it, it's not worth it. So if you're doing a whole home exterior remodel, like 100% swap the door out. If you want to have a wider entryway, swap the door out. Or if your door starts to have issues with the jam or the door itself kind of failing, then perfect. But I have seen really well installed doors, really nice quality doors that are 80 to 100 plus years old, still operate just as good as the day they were installed. And the house has been remodeled umpteen times over the last 180 years, whatever. So
all right, so maybe the entry door is not something, it's not an item in our house that we need to be like, it doesn't have an expiration date per se. But one of the things I know for a fact that our company deals with often is that people want to replace their patio doors.
Yeah.
Usually builders are putting in like a vinyl slider door that's as cheap as they can possibly find.
Yep.
It's not attractive. What are some of the options that I would have if I wanted to replace the door that leads out onto my deck, which is right now just a white vinyl slider?
So you could replace it with a couple different things. Sliding glass doors are super popular. Again, vinyl sliding glass doors are probably the market leader. You can go with a wood sliding glass door. You can go with a fiberglass, with an aluminum. From there, you can go French doors, which would be like both of them open. You can go with a patio door, which is usually going to be a fixed panel on one side and one side is operable. They do have what we call like a sliding collapsible door. It's where the doors kind of open into multiple panels and slide all the way to one side. You don't see that quite as much if you have like a standard 6-foot slider, 8-foot slider. You're not going to see that quite as common. But if you want a larger opening, something that's like a multi-panel slider currently, and you've got, say, a 10-foot opening, a 12-foot opening, those collapsible panels are amazing for allowing like the outside and the inside to become one space. But again, time and money, you can have pretty much anything you want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, real quick. So, Aaron, I don't know if you realize this. We actually have a sponsor for this episode. It's pretty exciting.
Amazing.
It's a big deal to hit 10 episodes. It's a big deal when you finally have a sponsor for an episode. So real quick, we're going to take just about a 60-second break. Stay tuned. I've got another question for Aaron related to doors. Big surprise there. So go ahead, check this out. We'll be right back. And now a word from our sponsor.
Fall into savings with Pro Exteriors. Get ready to bundle up your home for the cooler months ahead. From September 1st to November 30th, enjoy free gutter guards with every qualifying roof or siding project. That's right, say goodbye to clogged gutters and hello to hassle-free fall and winter. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Call or click today at 302-664-1700 or askproexteriors.com to schedule your free estimate. Pro Exteriors, home of the pro difference. Fall into savings with Pro Exteriors. Promotion valid September 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Contact us for details.
Let's get back to the show. All right, we are back. So thankful that we found that sponsor. We did a nationwide search and came up with them. So grateful for that. Aaron, we were talking about patio doors, sliding doors before we went to the break. I've talked even in this episode and previous episodes. People are probably tired of hearing me say we moved into a new house recently. We're still unpacking. Our sliding glass door has already given us trouble. There's been really, really hot, humid days where, I'll be honest, the door feels 3 times as heavy as it does on nice, cool mornings.
Yeah.
Could you talk to me a little bit about why people tend to end up replacing sliding glass doors and some of the maintenance tips that you could give that might even just extend the life of that door?
Absolutely. So sliding glass doors specifically, they usually wear out because people do like zero maintenance to it whatsoever. The things that people will deal with, that they'll put up with, their door being, feeling like it's 50 pounds heavier than it actually is, opening and closing for years until they finally call us, and it's usually too late. But like one of the things we deal with is, in the bottom of your door, there's a track there. When the door is closed, there's an interior track. And when, from the outside, there's an exterior track, and, dirt, debris, mold, dog hair, leaves, you name it, builds up in that track over time, both on the inside and the outside. And what it does is it dries that bottom track out. When you get that door brand new, a lot of times it's got like some silicone grease or something on there. But that's what keeps those parts, moving. If you look at the bottom of your door, you've got 2 little rollers on there. If you look at it like it's a car door or a car wheel or some sort of machinery, a gear of some sorts, those things are all, lubricated. And that's what keeps those things, lasting for years and years and years. So like the top 2 things I can say is like, every time you vacuum or clean your floor, take your vacuum and clean out that track, both the interior and the exterior. And then lubricate that track. You can do it a couple different ways. You can throw some, I don't recommend just like straight WD-40 because that's not really what that's meant for. You're going to want something that's got a little bit more viscosity to it. So 3M makes like some really, really nice like silicone lubricants. If you spray that on there, say once a quarter, it's not going to hurt it if you go a little overkill, but you want to keep all that stuff as lubricated as you possibly can. If you lived in an area where, you're kind of in the woods and you have a lot more debris and dust and everything, tree leaves, what have you, you want to keep it as clean as you possibly can. If you have a lot of dogs and cats in your house and dog hair is kind of a big thing, cat hair is a big thing. You're going to want to keep that out of that track. Because if it gets inside to the 2 wheels at the bottom of the door, it could really wreak havoc on it. And And then the other part of that is on the bottom of your door. Like if you notice your door, when you close it really, really slowly and it gets to the side of the jamb, when the door barely breaks the cusp of that side, it's kind of the same thing. You want to look for daylight. If you see that the door is not, square, plumb into the side, there are adjustment screws at the bottom of the door. Sometimes you have to pop a little cap out, but it just takes a screwdriver to adjust it up and down and make sure it's, doing its job, make sure it's nice and level. The locking mechanism that actually is on the jam side, does have some screws for adjustment, making sure that the catch is actually working properly. What else? The screen door is the one thing that I'll say you can have a sliding glass door or patio door that lasts for a very, very long time. Your screen door, unfortunately, is just a very thin piece of aluminum most of the time. That's not really going to last. You're going to have to replace it, especially like for me, I have young kids. It's not uncommon to have the screen door open or the door open and the screen, in the closed position, and kids just run through that.
Yep.
I know I did it when I was a kid. My kids have not done it yet, but give it time. Dogs do it. I've seen America's Funniest Home Videos. I've seen dogs run through screens quite often. But yeah, so it's just that maintenance stuff. It doesn't matter if you have a maintenance-free door. Vinyl technically is a maintenance-free product, but nothing is without maintenance. So the number one thing, keep your track clean, keep it lubricated. Your door will last for a lot longer. So.
Okay. Have you seen in your years in the business this is just kind of a fun question, any project where you thought, man, the homeowner had a really good idea here, or one of our sales guys came up with a good solution to a problem that was maybe just, we see doors all day long. They don't typically excite us. But has there been an exception to that? Have you seen any instances?
I've worked on some pretty cool projects here at the beach, where homeowners have taken a wall and put in like almost an entire wall worth of glass doors. Some of them have required steel beams. Some of them required very large LVL type beams. But taking a wall, and especially in like an older home, where it's got like maybe a standard 6-foot slider and maybe a couple of windows or maybe a slider or two, and literally open the entire wall out. I want to say it was 24 feet, give or take. And it ended up being like I think it was two ginormous multi-panel sliding glass doors, but they were super, super high-end Anderson doors. They were absolutely gorgeous. They had all these extra security features with, push locks in the tracks and top locks, bottom locks, side locks, breaker bars and everything else that came with it. So they really went all out. They had a great vision about what the property was going to look like when it was done. So yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. Part of the reason I pose that question is because so often we're talking about solving problems. It's been rainy in southern Delaware this week, and so we'll end up with roof leaks or window leaks or siding problems are exposed. And so often we are, as consumers, trying to fix a problem, and that can take some of the creativity out of it, just because we're trying to solve a need. But I'd say don't be afraid to talk to your exterior specialist and go to our website, askproexteriors.com, look at some of the jobs that we've done, visit our Pinterest account for some inspiration, come to the project with some ideas in mind, and then let the exterior specialists see that to fruition.
Fruition.
It's a really easy word to say.
Can you give me the origin? That was a spelling bee joke.
I know. I was trying to think. The word fruit is in fruition. Fruit ion.
Yes.
Oh, I'm glad I edit these because that means I can take stuff like that out.
Fruition.
All right, Aaron. So we've talked that when it comes to selecting a material for a door, for the most part, it's wood, fiberglass, steel, but the bulk of the jobs that we see are dealing with primarily fiberglass or wood, correct?
Yep, correct.
When thinking about getting a door replaced, You do want to consider security. At the same time, you've got to have realistic expectations on what the door can and can't do. Maintenance is a big part, just like everything we talk about. Proper maintenance at regular intervals, giving things attention before they're beyond repair.
Yep.
Will just help extend the life, right? Okay. And then lastly, don't be afraid to get creative. Don't, even if you are replacing your door out of necessity, it doesn't mean that it has to be boring. Take this opportunity to do something kind of fun.
Yeah.
And trust that whichever company you're working with will help steer you in the right direction. They will let you know if you've gone a bit too far outside the lines as far as what your dream is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Aaron, that's episode 10. We've made it to 10 episodes.
Can I celebrate now? Is now the time I celebrate?
Now is the time to celebrate. And I'll be honest, listener, viewer, Aaron likes to randomly surprise us.
Surprise is a good word, yeah.
I'm a little bit disappointed in some of my teammates right now because I sent them a message via Slack and said, hey, Aaron and I are going to be recording for a couple hours. He's going to be captive in this room.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just hop in and try to startle him? Like, I gave them permission to barge in.
Because I think they know better.
I don't know. I'm disappointed. I'm publicly declaring that.
Well, I'm glad you were honest with us. Not just me, but our audience. I'm glad you were honest with us. And so now I'm going to private message Dawn, and the next time we're doing a podcast, to see if she can pop in. So
I'm going to have to invest in some better locks in this. All right. Hey, that is all we have for today's episode of the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. We want to ask you for some help. Will you help us get the word out about this show? The best way to do that would be to give us a 5-star rating, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Would you share the show on social media, or maybe just tell a friend? If a friend has an upcoming home remodeling project coming up, just say, hey, I found this good resource. That would help us out a bunch. And ultimately, it helps us help you too. Also, before we go, we want to hear from you. This show does not exist without you and your questions. Would you send your questions to us at info@askproexteriors.com, and then in the subject, simply put, you ask. If you are facing an upcoming home project, we hope this episode has empowered you to tackle it with confidence. Remember, a little bit of research can go a long way. As always, until next time, happy homeowning. The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com.